Hi everybody, we're back with the Art Corner. This is a new one, and I'm not going to be it's not going to be such a hard piece today. I want it to be something that you all can do at home this summer while you're maybe off and have a little time on your own. This is a simple, just a small little botanical piece, and actually I'm going to do two, and then they're very quick and easy. I'm going to use acrylic this morning, and I'd like you to see how you can do this on your own. And then we're going to age them, and they'll make a really pretty pair of botanicals that you could put maybe in a kitchen or a den, somewhere you would enjoy them. It's summer and the flowers are beautiful, and I'd like for you to be able to do this on your own. So we're going to start with a tulip. This is an unusual tulip. It's got red and white in it, but that's the only thing we're going to put on this one canvas, and then I'm going to age it to give it some depth and to make it probably appeal to more people. So we're going to start even with the sketch, and I'm tired of oil too. It's messy, so we're doing acrylic today, and I haven't done one thing, guys, so you're going to go through the whole thing with me. You want to center your flower on the middle of your canvas. Now I eyeball it. You anal people can measure if you want to, but I just sort of eyeball my center, and if I die a famous artist, that'll make it more special. But here we go. And usually you're not a famous artist until you die. So hopefully I won't even know it. Here we go. I'm just going to start with my stem. Make sure you've got plenty of eraser. That's one cool thing about sketching and not tracing is you can erase until you get it correct. I'm going to take it right down almost to the bottom. Out right in here. I want it just a little thinner, so I'm going to erase some of this. These are really neat erasers. They're not messy. They got a good sharp edge so you can get your corners and do really sharp close places. Now the focal, of course, is our flower. So I'm going to put it about right in this area. You don't want it to go all the way to the top. This should be kind of a center place. Plus, I want to age around the edges. So we want some room to be able to do that. All right, let's start with this. Let me just get the general shape of a couple of these petals. Now this tulip, very unusual, looks variegated. You master gardeners out there probably know what it's called. I have no clue. I just liked it. Okay, there's one here. What you want to do with your lines is check them against each other. I'll start out with my first petal, and then I look at my second petal and compare where it is to my first one. Here's my second, there's my first one. It comes up. Now, if it's your piece, it doesn't have to be exactly like your art reference, but I recommend it being very close so that you can, see that you did it correctly. And if you get lost, you've got a reference to go by. Now, here is another petal. And it's real close in, but it makes it fat because it comes out. Now let's get over here to this center petal. Bring it in. There's a vein. Now I'm checking myself here, and I can see that this one needs to come out some more. There we go. We don't want to get too far off. Here's our stem. So you don't want your tulip to be too fat one way or the other. One more petal over here, and I think it'll balance it out. You've got some overlay in some of these petals, so you want to make sure you sketch those so that when you paint you can see those. There we go. I think that's plenty fat enough. Let me get rid of this one area with my little skinny eraser. Bring this out and put that behind there. All right, there's the gist of my tulip. Now I'll do my variegation with paint. Now let's get down here to the leaf. All right, we'll square off the bottom. Let's bring this big one in first. It comes up to about this area. In order to fill up the canvas, I'm going to widen it out some. Simple, simple, just a few lines. And I know you think, well, I can't draw. If you look at something close enough, get you a good eraser, you could do this. This would be a beginner's piece. Now, I will say this, for a beginner, it's easier to look at a picture and copy it than to do a still life. But you will learn more by painting or drawing a still life. But if you really just want to learn to draw, I recommend copying a picture first. Now let's take this second leaf, overlaps the first one just a little. Actually, that's not enough. So I'm going to erase it. Let's take it up just a little more. Take it up to about right here. It shows a little stem on the bottom, gives it a little bit of a contemporary look. This one's kind of out there. Let's bring it out like this. There we go. Isn't that cool? And it's got a really weird little stem here, so let's add that. Ta-da! It's drawn. Now, one thing I recommend that you do after you draw is hairspray your piece so that your lines don't go away. And I do happen to have a little hairspray here. Didn't get it out, but I want to do that so that our lines don't go away. Any kind of hairspray will work fine. Lightly spray it, and when you start painting, your lines won't go away. That helps a lot. Air it out just a little bit like this, and we're going to start painting. I've got my palette colors for the most part started. I haven't put my angry red out yet, so let's start with the leaves first. We're going to do acrylic. My oils were getting so messy that I just thought, you know, I don't want to be a mess today on my hands all day long. So with acrylic, you just need water. Water and a paper towel. Went to the store before I came and got some fine, sharp brushes. Guys, I'm going to tell you, you can go to Walmart and get some great brushes. You really can. They work wonderful. I'm using green, brown, and yellow ochre to do my stem. It's not a dark green, kind of a medium green. I'm going to mix them all together and start a little palette right here, and it matches. Then with your sharp brush, you can very easily just start your stem work. Now with acrylic, you do have to be a little more careful with dripping because your blending medium is water. So you don't want it to drip. So just use your water sparingly. Oil is thicker than acrylic, so you don't have that issue most of the time. Acrylic's water-based, but it's very durable and one of the better beginning paint mediums to start with. Oil would be more for an advanced artist, but once you use oil, you usually don't go back. Here we go. I do a lot of murals too on the side, and I use acrylic paint and contractor's brushes. And it goes well on walls. It's not such a mess in people's homes, etc. No smell at all. Now we don't want that stem to be flat. So I'm going to get some black, and I'm going to make one side dark and one side light. Before I got here too, I just ran and got a small little set of beginning acrylic. These are like $5, okay? And you've got every color that you need for most paintings. It's Daler Rollin, which is an excellent name brand in acrylic. $5. So I mean, you can try painting and not have much cost involved at all. I recommend you do it. Now I'm getting the black right in here underneath my flower, and let's do dark one side. That means our light source is coming this way. Go. Want to make sure with acrylic paint that you get all your canvas holes covered. They just spray a linen piece of cloth. I mean, they put gesso on it. So you're going to have a few holes in any canvas, unless you use portrait canvas, which is very, very slick. But for the most part, most canvas that you're going to buy are going to have some divots in it. So make sure you get enough paint to get in those divots and make it look solid. This side I'm doing a lighter color. Helps my stem look round rather than flat, okay? And I know this is supposed to be green, but it's not. I am going to add just a little green to it so people won't lose their mind. But really and truly, it is just kind of a yellow ochre and brown stem. Now, while we're doing green, let's go ahead and start this leaf. Really, this will take no time at all. And I'm going to put one aside, let it dry, do the other one, and then we'll age them together so that they're kind of the same. You don't want them side by side and be real different. There we go. Now this part is in front. I'd painted 2 bunnies for my daughter's nursery, and I did them at different times. And the background of one is a little darker than the other, and it drives me crazy every time I'm over there. So I'll have to go back and make that background the same color. It drives her crazy too, I know. So you want to do them at the same time if you can, so you don't have to fool with that. Now the inside of this is a little lighter, so I'm going to add some white to my ochre green mix. There we go. But you want it to be a different color because this is behind. So I'm going to add a little white. Make sure you see the difference there. Now I'm going to rich that up in just a minute. Let me place it. Go. These are timeless. Anytime you do a little botanical piece like this, they are timeless. You'll see them in antique shops and gift stores. And you know what? These are great for cards. These are really nice to go make cards for thank you notes or invitations. You can go have them put on cardstock, make them any size you want, get the envelopes, and on the back they will put hand painted by so-and-so. So all your friends are impressed that you painted this. Here we go. Once again, I'm adding water to get rid of these canvas holes. Burnt umber to make a few veins and to outline this side. What would we do without burnt umber? And the older I get, the more of a yellow ochre fan I become. I just love that color. There we go. Now, I'm going to go into my umber again, sharp brush, a little black, and let's start defining some of the stem. I mean, some of this leaf down here. Really want to put, now in order to hold this steady, so if you're doing real fine work, put my pinky down on my canvas, hang on to it with the other side, and that helps steady your hand. A lot of artists too will put their elbow against a table or use a rod and lean their arm into the rod, and that helps steady your hand as well. Because we all drink coffee. And if you drink coffee and paint, you're going to have to put your pinky down or you will shake. There we go. Now, just a few little details. I want to put a small highlight right here. That's kind of big, that's okay. Now, let's get in on the other leaf. We're going to add just a little more green, a little bit of a brighter yellow. This leaf actually looks different. We don't want it too different, but I'm just following my art reference. And acrylic is such a nice cleanup. You just dump your water, and if you do get it on your clothes, it will come out. If you get oil on your clothes, they're history. You can try to put some Dawn and do this, but for the most part, if you get oil paint on your clothes, they're history. I do have a chest of drawers full of paint clothes, and that's all they're for. And whenever I am going to paint, that's what I wear. Because there's always that possibility that you're going to, and you hate to mess up your good stuff. So, here we go. A little more brown. And you know what? This leaf, this side actually has a little blue in it. So I'm going to squirt some blue. When you get a new paint, you're going to have a metal cap on it. The end of your cap's going to have a pokey thing. Poke it in there. And that opens up your little paint tube. One of these little starter kits will last you a long time. Surprisingly enough, they will last you a good while. I'm going to add a little blue to that. Okay. I was going to do a London graveyard. I was telling Brennan here. But I think, you know what I might do, guys, is just wait till closer to Halloween and do my London graveyard then. It was cool, though. We'll do it before it's over. There we go. Now, let's add a little yellow and a little blue, which makes what? Green. It's kind of a little blue-green. Just following my art reference. There we go. Soft, soft. And you can lighten and darken with paint, and you can also lighten and darken with water. Now, acrylic's different than watercolor, which I would love to learn. I can do a little watercolor, but I would love to get better at watercolor. You have to use a special paper for watercolor, and it almost paints itself. But water really will just move your paint around in a watercolor picture, where acrylic, you use it like you do oil. Outlining the edges of that. Getting some veins in here. And there is a shadow from that stem right there. So I'm getting my black, and I want to make it very distinct. It's right here. Now, let's get up here to our flower. I've got another palette because red does not play well with others. Anytime you have red on a palette, it likes to be the boss. So you might want to consider another palette when you use red. This one is called Brilliant Red, opening it back up, but they do not play well with others. And I'm going to do a little white. and a little bit of black and some yellow. I'll just use the yellow over here. Okay, now let's start our tulip. I'm going to start with white and just kind of get into covering some of the canvas holes, which is, you can't even see it, with this solid white. And then get into my mean old red with a little black. And I am just going to actually paint where it goes rather than drawing this. You've got an area that goes here. An area that goes here. Adding a little black so that that red is a little bit darker. There we go. There we go. See, that's what happens when you're mean and ornery. You get a palette all by yourself. Here is another long red vein. I'm going to add a little more black because we're turning, and as we turn it gets a little darker on the side. And I'll tell you, when you lose your spot, you can put your finger on your art reference and that helps keep your spot. That way you're not looking, when you turn back around to look at your art reference, you're not searching for it. Just put your finger on your spot where you are. Okay, now let's let that dry a minute, because I'll tell you what, if you start adding red to anything, it will dominate. So we don't want a pink tulip, we want a red and white tulip. May even have to change brushes because I had a little red on that. So let's make it a solid white, and I'll darken this up, but let me go ahead and get my white on here. See, I'm not losing my lines because we sprayed it. There we go. You can buy acrylic fixative, but hairspray's cheaper. And you probably have some at the house. There we go. Now, just want to go ahead and get that on there. Now let's get back into our red again. This will take no time at all. Black, red. Even when you do black, guess what dominates? Red. There we go. Got a real fine line there. I'm gonna hang on because we're getting kind of detailed here. There's one. There's one. All right. Here's another line here. This is a behind petal, and I'm just copying what I see. I'll make some forward and behind with my shading in just a minute. Just want to get these lines on here. There we go. There's one. Little red there. Go. You're starting to see some of the shape of this tulip. There we go. Now, let's let that dry just a minute or two. While that's drying, I want to show you there's a little yellow undershadow right down here. And it doesn't matter if it blends a little bit with that red. It should probably. All right. And then I want to go a little bit darker while it's drying under my stem here. There we go. While that's drying too, I want to go ahead and accentuate some more of this stem to make some of it pop. Do that with veins, a very sharp brush. This is a nylon or a synthetic brush, and it's almost like using a fine lead pencil. They just really almost draw it for you. Let's outline this little doogie. I'm not sure what that little doogie is actually, but it doesn't matter. Let's outline him. Get some more veins in here. There we go. One more over here. Oh, don't drip. A little more here. I'm going to take some of that water off and do a little shadow here. Don't forget our shadow from our stem. I want to make it dominant. Now, I'm going to use some leftover black that's on my brush, and I want to start some shading in here so that you can see the petals that are folded over, and it'll help give this tulip a little bit more interest and dimension. Leftover black, very thin. Okay, Mr. Red. And a smart artist probably would have done the black and white first and then added the red, but no, I just didn't. I couldn't stand it. I just love the red in this piece. So it may interfere. I hope not, but it may interfere just a little bit. And by adding these dark shadows, it helps make this look round and have some dimension. Yep, I knew it. There's Mr. Red. That's okay. Let's just get it real dark right in here. There we go. Now, sharp brush is key. If your brush is old and fly away, you're going to lose your edges. I'm using the very tip of this brush to redraw some of the outline of this flower, okay? Just use the very edge and redraw some of this. Hanging on. There we go. Now, if you hold your mouth funny, it'll work better. So make sure you kind of hold your mouth funny. There we go. There we go. Starting to see a little bit of the flower's edges. Now, it is important that it dries before we age it, because we're going to kind of go crazy with that. Now, let's get some more dark right up in here. Okay. I see a couple more lines. This line is got to be definite to show that little inside overlay. So let me draw this in. There we go. Let me draw this one in. Let me draw this out. All right. I'm going to work on my white just a little bit. Highlight and get rid of some of these lead spots. This little booger's harder than I thought it would be. But you can still do it. I don't want to discourage you. And you'll really like him once we get him aged and it looks like you found him somewhere. I'm not real crazy about a fresh painting. I kind of like them to look old. I'm even going to add a little bit of black in here with my red. It's for some drama. Right here on the edges. Up here as well. Glad I did a separate plate. There we go. Okay. He's starting to come alive. All right, one more edge here that needs to be defined. Now let me hang on, put my pinky down. You have to be careful because it's wet. You don't want to smear it. There we go. Back up. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. There's Mr. Tulip. Okay, now let's let Mr. Tulip dry, all right? I'm gonna sit him over here and we're gonna start with Mr. I don't know what the heck you are. This is a beautiful botanical flower. I think it will fit nicely with Mr. Tulip, but we're gonna go ahead and sketch him. They're the same size. You don't wanna just do one, you wanna do two. Once again, let's find the center. Eyeballing my center here, about right here. I just picked these out of my art reference drawer. I had a decorator friend one time tell me the way to decorate a room or to, you know, decide on an oil that you want to buy is to keep an art reference drawer. So if you see something in a magazine that you love, rip it out. You can't really do that on Pinterest. Most people do Pinterest now, but you can save it under your art stuff heading. But I used to, before Pinterest, just rip it out. That's where this came from. And I thought one day I'm going to paint that. And sure enough, here I am. It's probably been in that drawer 5-6 years. I want to bring it around the same bottom as my other one, so I'm going to actually kind of measure that. Yeah, that's about right. All right. But keep an art reference drawer so that you can save something that one day you'd like to paint. And that's where this came from. I'm going to do him kind of big. Let's get these petals sketched. Different flower completely, but it is in the red family, so he'll match the other one. These are just old pictures. It's got a center area here. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to have to use my finger till I'm losing my place. Here we go. Don't lose your spot. If you do, if you take your eye off your art reference, you will lose it. That's something I do preach to my art students is, let me see your art reference. Okay, how does this look? Well, let me see your art reference. Oh, and it's underneath a bunch of paperwork. and you lose what you're doing. It doesn't always have to be. If you're one of those artists where I want to do my own thing, I don't want to follow an art reference, that's fine. But I think that you'll learn more by following an art reference for a while until you get a little bit better. I love to follow an art reference. It checks to see if I did it right. And I always tell them, and I've said it on this show before, paint what you see if you agree with it or not. You think, well, that leaf's got purple in it. Well, it does. Paint what you see if you agree with it or not, if you want it to look like the painting that you chose or the picture you chose. And you probably picked that picture out for a reason, because you liked it. That purple may have been the reason and you didn't know it. Here's another leaf over here. One over here. Now, my canvas is a little shorter than the one I'm looking at, the picture, so I am going to shorten it some. This one does have a few more leaves also than my tulip, so I am going to eliminate a couple of these leaves because I don't want one to look real full and thick and fat and the other one to be super skinny. So they're going to be a pair, so you kind of want to have some semblance or similarities to these. Right, here is another leaf. Down here, let's do, the tulip leaves are bigger, these are smaller, so we can get away with a few more. I'm still drawing what I see, I'm just leaving out a few things. One more here. There we go. Get my eraser. Get rid of some of these extra lines. Make that stem just a little thinner. And what are we going to get next? We're going to get our hairspray. Here we go. Spray my lines. What would we do with that hairspray? Please tell me. All right. Fanning that off. Now, I've got two palettes, which is great, but let's start with our leaf palette. And let's start with our stem. I'm excited to show you this antiquing process. It's easy. Paper towel and water. All right, I'm doing umber, green, and ochre again. But now this leaf is in front, so I want to get that leaf in. And I've got my other botanical beside me so that we're not going too crazy different with the colors. I want them to look similar. They're going to be hanging side by side. So you don't want them too different. So I'm kind of looking over at it to make sure that I'm staying, you know, close to the same colors. A little bit of umber, a little black. Now, let's get the stem below. I'll go ahead and just do the solid. And then we'll do the light and dark side. And actually, the picture I'm looking at here, the light source is coming from this way. That's okay. So we'll do one dark side. There we go. And one light side using the yellow and the white and the green. Helps this stem look round and shows a little dimension. Now up at the top, it's black because it's underneath the flower, it's behind a leaf, so it's real dark up here. So I'm using the little edge of my paintbrush making that real dark. And it's really dark here too, under the leaf here. So I'm going to make it dark. Now, this side of my leaf is pretty dark. Switching brushes on you. There we go. I tell you what would be fun this summer to do. Get some artist friends, find a good front porch, someone's home, and sit outside and just paint one day. Fix their lunch and just find your subjects, get your easels, lay a drop cloth down, and spend the afternoon on a front porch this summer painting. Wouldn't that be fun? I've seen my neighbor do that. She's an artist, and I've seen her and her friends out on their porch painting, and I want to do that. That's a bucket list. I want to do that. Darker up here near the flower. That flower's shading that leaf some, okay? That's why it's darker. Same here. Same here. Then it gets lighter as it comes out. Make sure to get some citronella candles so you don't get eaten up by mosquitoes as you're outside painting. But I'm not talking necessarily about plein air painting, not an easel looking at a still life, but just get a picture and some sit down easels and sit down and chit chat and enjoy. And they don't even have to be artist friends, just somebody that might be interested. There you go. You can learn from each other that way. Now these two are kind of combined until I get a black line to separate them. Covering these canvas holes. Depending on where you get your canvas will determine how many canvas holes it has too. The cheaper your canvas, the more canvas holes you'll have. If you spend a little more money on your canvas, you're going to actually get a better product. There we go. Let me get this separated. It's driving me crazy. There we go. There's two leaves up here. There we go. Let's add some. I'm doing this black just to draw these back in. Getting my edges. There we go. And if your neighbors didn't mind, you could even play some painting music while you're out there. Just make sure it's low so you don't disturb everybody on the block. But that would help soften the mood. You wouldn't hear the ice cream truck every 30 minutes. You'd really enjoy that. Kids are somewhere else. There we go. Using a pure yellow and green to get some of these leaves in. Yeah, acrylic is fast. Dries fast, moves fast. A lot of people prefer acrylic when they use a palette knife too. There we go. A little more drama. Get those veins in those leaves. Cover those canvas holes. How's that for some drama? There we go. There we go. I'm just adding lights and darks to make it more interesting. Plus I'm copying my art reference. Making that vein squiggly because it's not even. There we go. Now let's start with our flower here in just 1 second. Make that darker below that leaf so it looks behind it. A little more drama. Sorry, I'm just really hung up on the drama on this one. Hang on. And lights and darks are what separate the men from the boys in art. You can tell an experienced artist because they use lights and darks and they're not afraid. Very important. There we go. You can see how that drama really helps that. Now, changing palettes because of Mean Old Red. And we're going to start with this flower with red. And actually, this one's got a little bit of yellow in him. So I'm going to drag some yellow over here and some black. And let's start with this main petal right here. And one thing about acrylic too is it does dry fast on your palette. So you've got to boogie. You've got to get that on there. At least spray it with water. You could get a water spray and spray your palette with water. A lot of people do that. Keeps your acrylic wet. Okay. Now, black over here. Red up here. Now this flower is a little darker than the other one. That's all right. Okay, over here. Leftover black on my brush to just kind of shadow and round out that first petal. Now I'm going to outline this center area. That's going to be some kind of a middle. And then this is dark beyond it. More red. Here we go, more red. And this is going pretty quick. Not as quick as I thought, but it is going pretty quick. Here we go. Just black out some of those edges. Make sure we get each individual petal lined out. There we go. More red. Now it will blend in with the black all by itself. Canvas holes. Trying to keep this round, round, round. There we go. Now I'm going to change brushes. I may even, let's see here what we got. Yeah, I'm going to use this one and we'll do this center part. So I'm going to get in this dirty yellow on my other palette over here. They get messy looking, but that's all right. They're supposed to be. Let's do this. Get this yellow center. One side's dark and one side's light. Just going to kind of get it on here first. There we go. Oh, diddle squat. Look at that. Mr. Red jumped right in there. That's how he does if you're not careful. All right, brown. Let's do brown on this side. I'm telling you, that red's got a mind of its own, folks. He does not play. You have to keep him on a separate plate. So he does not play well with others. Here's red and black. Getting right up to the edge of where we just finished. See all those canvas holes? We gotta get rid of them. So I'm gonna do that with water. So I get my water, add it to my paint without hopefully dripping. Get rid of those canvas holes. There we go. Dark, 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 dark. Scruff that brush around. Now, I think I got rid of most of those canvas holes. Now there is a blue something or other right in the middle of this flower. Now I'm going to put white behind it. I'm going to dip a little blue in there. There's 3 little blue something or others right in the middle there. Okay, then I'm going to get this brown and I want to make one side of this a little darker than the other. And while that's on my brush, I'm going to go around these little center stemmy things or seedy things, and I'm going to outline a little more on this one. Then we're going to age the other one while this one's drying. Really dark here. Okay. While I've got black on my brush, I'm just so tempted. I'm just going to go ahead and sort of get a little more outline here on some of these leaves like this. You know, really, I don't have that much time on this program to do a lot of real high detail, but I want to kind of show you, you know, where and how it goes. If you have 2.5 days, you can really high detail this piece. I don't recommend you hurry through anything. It doesn't give you a crown or a reward to hurry. So make sure that you spend time on your piece, especially if your name is going to be on it. A lot of times after I leave here, I'll take my piece and I'll go to my art studio or in class and, you know, fine tune it just to get it. And sometimes, you know, people, it'll buy, you know, if it's good, it'll sell. Or I want to keep it myself. But never hurry through a piece of art. Just like I'm doing. Just take it to your studio and work till you like it. Put it aside, pick it up later. Now, there's that one. Here's this one. And they're partners side by side in a wall, okay? But to make these finish, now I want to make sure this is dry. Make sure all the paint's off my hand. Yeah, it's dry to touch already. That's how acrylic does. I want to age this piece real quick. So what you do is get paper towel or rag. You can use a cloth rag if you want to. Paper towel works just as well. And you want to get some burnt umber. I'm not using the red palette because you know how he is. All right. We're going to get this umber, put it on this plate. And I want to just get some of the paint, just sort of get your hand under there. Wad your hand under your paper towel. Dip it in your water. Then dip a little bit of that in your burnt umber, okay? Scrub some of that off. Now, get right up here on the edge. And you just kind of want to get your edge dirty like this, okay? Paper towel works just as well as a cloth. It really does. and you want to age up the edges of this piece. Burn umber. Let me get my glasses so I can see how, and there we go. And also, you don't have to frame them if you go around the edge, but tentacles look good framed. Just age this up like this. Take that off the easel. Manhandle it. Just get it. There we go. Now this will wipe off some. Shoot. Hang on. There we go. Just take, you want it darker around the edges. It's okay that there's some inside close to the flower. You know, you really can't control how something will age, and it should sort of look that way. Around the edges here, all over, all over. More water. There we go. That acrylic's dry, so it should not pull the paint off your flower. And if you have a little paper stubblies from the paper towel, that's all right. They come right off. There we go. A little bit closer in there. Use your finger to pinpoint where you want that to go. There we go. A little more water. The water will take that right off of places you don't want it. Maybe you accidentally got it in a little close. That's all right. That water will take it right off. Now, I'm going to age it just a little more on the edges. I mean, you can go crazy. You can really make it dark like this. Just add more paint and really make it dark. You might want the bottom a little darker. This helps give this some I don't know, just makes the piece look a little richer. They're prettier framed. You won't need a mat. And then you want to kind of do them side by side so that you don't have one a lot darker than the other. Now this one hasn't had as much time to dry, so cross your fingers. I think it'll be all right. Don't get too close to that red on this one. Same thing. Take it around your edges. Go lighter as you go in toward your flower. Darker on the edges up here. Hang on to your paper towel. Don't let it get out of control. Almost makes it look like it has a parchment background. And once again, this is a beginner piece, but I kind of wanted to show you how easy and quick you could do a couple little decorative pieces for your home. These would be pretty in your kitchen. You could do fruit. You don't have to do flowers. Now, I don't want a lot of start-stop with your brown, so get a little clear. Get it where it's not so dirty on your paper towel and bring it in where you don't have a lot of start-stop. Shouldn't have any start-stop. It should blend in with your white, okay? There we go. That one's a little darker. That's why you sit them side by side, so you can kind of get them to look close to the same patina. There we go. Don't worry about your brown, it spreads right out. You can use sienna too if you want to instead of umber, but I just think umber works well on everything. In stain or oil, burnt umber would also be called provincial. That's another good color in oil, is a provincial color. There we go. Working to make them look the same. Thank you, Mr. Red, for staying on there. Maybe a little darker here. I'm just shoving this paint around with water, paper towel. Real light in here. You don't want to get involved in your paint. This also takes away any extra pencil marks you might see. There we go. Show you something else you can do. Now I'm kind of getting off subject, but you can do this and blotch your paint a little bit to give it more of a stipply look as well. Like this. This sort of helps. It looks like it was in the back of a truck somewhere, really old. There we go. A couple of old botanicals. I think I'm done. I hope you all enjoyed this. They're simple and easy to do. Those would be pretty framed somewhere. Join me next time. Thank you for seeing us today on the Art Corner.